Alright, this is Mike with Trike with Mike, Texas. I was in the U.S. Navy during the Cold War on a submarine. Time to time I'll tell a sea story. So, whoa, big one, big one, big one. Oof. So when you're out at sea, you come up every so often and ventilate. In other words, just stick a stack out, bring in fresh air, expel, not fresh air, and keep it going. And when you're close to home, and that's easy to keep up with on short deployments. But when you're far away from home and you want to limit your exposure, you tend to not ventilate. So, but we keep track of the oxygen levels and the CO2 levels and that kind of thing. And after a while, not super long, you start running a little low. So you got several ways to combat this. One's an oxygen generator. It's a big old machine that runs and it takes water and it splits it up into hydrogen and oxygen. And we pump the hydrogen overboard and we keep the oxygen. And so we add that to our lists. This guy sees me, okay. So that's one way to generate oxygen, but it's not enough. So, and that runs a lot. That runs a lot, that machine. Then there's a way to take out the CO2, the carbon dioxide, what they call a scrubber. Lithium hydroxide canisters are put into these scrubbers. They're CO2 scrubbers. And you run air through it, and the lithium hydroxide will absorb the CO2. So that doesn't give you more oxygen, it just makes it better. And then the third way is to burn oxygen candles. So oxygen candles, a can, yay high, like a size of a tall, like if it was a double tall big coffee can, double height, about the same bigness around for the big cans. It had an oxygen candle in it. So this oxygen candle was basically a hunk of concrete, is what it looked like. But you would put this hunk of concrete, you'd open the can, put the hunk of concrete in a furnace and burn it. And then it gave off oxygen when it burned. Kind of counterintuitive, but that's how it worked. And there's another story about that, another sea story directly related to those oxygen candles. But anyway, that's how we got oxygen replenished without recirculating and bringing in fresh air. You couldn't always do that depending on where you were. Bump. So the next thing that happens is, we got a lot of smokers on board. And they're all, avid smokers. They really puff it up, and just I never was a smoker, so I can't relate. I had friends that were, but and shipmates. But these guys, at the beginning of a deployment, they're offered to buy cigarettes that are tax-free, because we'll be out at sea, nowhere close to shore, and you can get them tax-free at that point. So they put in their order to get their tax-free cigarettes, and right before we deploy, they distribute them to the guys, and all of them think they've got enough. They got plenty. They kind of know what they smoke, so they get enough. Well, it never seems to be that way, because every deployment we were out for an extended time. These guys would, at first I'd be smoking away, buddy comes in, bum a cigarette, smoke, 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 smoke. And then as time went by, it was, can I bum a cigarette? Nope. I'm trying to make mine last, because the first guy, he's probably already out of his, so they try to make them last. And then it gets to the point where there's so little oxygen on board, they can't keep a cigarette lit without dragging on it. So to light it, they gotta light it, and their lighter's having problems. Some of them have better lighters that I guess they're better for whatever reason, but they didn't have a problem with those lighters. But they light it, but the only way they could get it lit was to drag on it. And then as soon as they went to exhale and talk for half a second, it went out. It wouldn't stay lit. And so they were just having the hardest time keeping their cigarettes lit. And then to top it off, they'd run out of cigarettes. Of course, nobody's letting anybody borrow. And they'd run out of the cigarettes. Squirrel! And then they go digging in the ashtrays for used butts and puffing a drag or two on those. Of course, you had to really drag, because you weren't going to keep it lit. And I just thought that whole part of it was just absolutely crazy and disgusting. But it's their deal. But life aboard a submarine, I imagine most subs that were in the time of day, that time of period, had the same issues. I don't know about boomers. I would guess they would too. I never was on one. I don't know what their schedules look like for ventilating or anything like that. That's the end of the sea story.